Hey, this is Mitch, and you're listening to episode 2 of DuckTalks. Thank you for listening to our show. It's the week of Sunday, October 15th, 2017. On this episode of DuckTalks, we will discuss DuckTales Episode Schedule Shuffling, new Disney Afternoon action figures, Episode 6 of DuckTales, The House of Lucky Gander, and the series intro of Gladstone Gander. Joining me once again is Pirate Steven.
Ahoy there. Oh man, this show is going to be great. There's a lot of great topics. That Disney Afternoon figures is a big one for me. And that blew my mind and was the best thing about this week. So I can't wait to talk about that.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I was at an amusement park, and it took up quite a bit of my time talking with various people about that when it came out. So so
it's just crazy. It's like a dream come true that here we go, one of our favorite shows, and the merchandise bonanza is starting. So it's pretty exciting.
These figures are going to be great, and I didn't have any of the action figures from the original Darkwing Duck. Did they make figures for any of the other shows?
Not that I'm aware of. I could be completely wrong though. But the Darkwing Duck ones, I don't have them either. They go for a lot of money on the aftermarket.
Without the hat.
With that, it's hard to find Darkwing with the hat or mint on card, as they say. But I'm looking forward to adding these to my collection. There's a lot of great places out there. And just if you didn't know, Funko, one of my favorite companies out there, they make so much different merchandise. They announced that they're going to make carded figures, action figures of Darkwing Duck, Scrooge McDuck, Chip and Dale from Rescue Rangers, and Baloo from Tailspin. And there's going to be a chase character of Negatron that's going to have a rarity of 1 out of every 6 Darkwing Duck figures ordered in a case is going to be Negatron, which is kind of funny because Negatron, to my knowledge, it was only 1 episode, and it's kind of Negaduck before he became Negaduck, and this is his 3rd piece of merchandise collectible from Funko this year. So Negatron's got his popularity and fan base, I guess.
Yeah, they did the pop. What was the 3rd one?
The mystery mini set. From Funko that's coming out
right.
November also has I think it's one of the exclusives. Yeah,
I think it's the Toys R Us exclusive.
So,
that was just the 1 episode, and afterwards, you're right. That gave them the inspiration to do Negaduck, and I think it was one of those things. There's no real continuity to Darkwing Duck, and when they decided to create Negaduck, and they used Negatron as the inspiration, they said, how do we explain that he came back? And they just decided they wouldn't.
Yeah.
So,
and that Negatron is pretty much Darkwing Duck, but in black and white, and he has red eyes.
Right.
So, being a complete, I need to have the complete collection. I had made an order with ToyWars.com for the complete set plus the chase. So I'm looking forward to adding that. And I haven't decided yet if I'm opening them up off the package. I know a lot of people cringe when you hear people say that, or if I'm keeping them mint on their cards. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll just leave the Negatron mint on his card, but or maybe I'm just insane. Maybe I'll just order a second set. Who knows? But I'm hoping the popularity of this makes a second series pop. And I from reading the comments online and the explosion of good thoughts on these, I can't see how they wouldn't make a second series. There's so many great characters.
Right. I'm expecting that second series, and as far as what I plan on getting, I am at least getting Darkwing and Scrooge. That's on my Christmas list already. I could see Rescue Rangers.
These come out in November, so I think these are great stocking stuffers, or and gifts for the family or yourself, because you gotta buy yourself and treat yourself every now and then.
Yeah, and they're $10.99 retail, I think, right?
Yeah, retail for $10.99. You can pre-order it for $9.99 and $8.99 at a lot of different sites.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great bar. I mean, they're just as top notch as many of the other toys out there. I'm thinking my kids might want some as well. So
Right.
it's good that'd be a good little memento and way to get your kids into what you are into, which is ducks. Right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and they look very articulate too. They're not just
Oh,
a
absolutely.
couple of
High
hinges.
quality always from Funko.
Looking forward to seeing you all unbox them in November. I think I'll have to wait till December.
Absolutely. So yeah, they come out in November, same month that the Disney Afternoon Mystery Minis from Funko, which is going to be a lot harder to chase down than these guys are. So, well, and of course, again, I'm gonna have to have every one of them. So we'll see how that goes. And I'm sure I'll have funny stories with them because those are blind boxes, so they're a little bit harder. I have pretty good luck with blind packs and blind boxes, but we'll see.
Yes,
We'll
you
see.
do. I was noticing
See how
that this
that chase
weekend.
goes. Yeah. It's magic.
So we kind of went ahead and jumped into the news, but a little piece of news for our show tonight. We want to take a moment to point out that DuckTalks is part of Res.tv. This is an association of that we're very thankful to be a part of. They Lloyd and Res TV has been a lot of help from me in getting this show up and running and getting us going technically. And you've had an affiliation with them for a while. You know them a lot better than I do. I've known them as a fan.
Yeah, I did the Inside Infinity podcast with Res TV, and they make high quality content for people, and they have a lot of fans out there. So we're happy to be part of the family and bridge the gap, because there was a big gap in Res TV. They needed to have DuckTales podcast somewhere in there, and I'm happy they were able to fill that.
Oh, absolutely. And there are a lot of different shows, a lot of gaming shows, a lot of geek culture, or nerd culture. Not sure which one's right, but there's a lot of great shows, a lot of great content. Check it out. Right now, if you're listening to our show, you've probably found us through their website or through the links that we're sharing on social media. You're there already. Go ahead and look around, check out what they've got going on, and provide us with some feedback on what you like. And but yeah, glad to have the help, and glad to be a part of the family.
We want to go into the second part of news, which I believe. So you go ahead and you start this, but there's been an episode shuffle. I guess it surprised the people that worked on the show.
Yeah. So a few days ago, we had already seen some shuffling going on with the episode order. There was not that had been spoken of, but just a sense that something was missing. And that was when Frank and Gomez on Twitter mentioned that there had in fact been a shuffling, and he was surprised by the way the episodes would be aired. And on on September 30th, he posted the actual order that they were written, in the production order. Everything that was planned, everything they've been working on for the show, had been done using this order. So the first episode was the two-parter, Woo, and so that, of course, was going to premiere. And the next episode was Day Trip of Doom. Now, my listing had Day Trip of Doom. I use a streaming service for my to watch TV, and they listed Day Trip of Doom. And then the next one was The Great Dime Chase. Now, were your episodes mixed? Were they swapped from that, or are they the same?
No, I believe that was the same that they aired.
Okay. Because I've seen some people on Twitter say that their service, however they were getting it, had those swapped, and The Great Dime Chase was second. But the official order.
The Great Dime Chase was second for me. Day Trip of Doom was the official first one that aired at like 7 a.m. And they did two in a row, and The Great Dime Chase is right after that one.
All right. So
So Day Trip of Doom was like the Webby featured episode.
Yes.
And then the next one was kind of like the Louie featured one.
Right. With a side story of Dewey trying to get more information about his mother, about Della Duck.
And we met Gyro as well.
Yes, we did. Now, the official third episode should have been an unannounced Huey episode. So we should have had a Huey-centric episode to give us a little more information about his character. And I feel like we've lost something there because every time we see Huey, he comes off as, very straight-laced by the books, but also... he's interrupting and correcting people, and I feel like we're missing part of the character every time we see him.
Yeah, I feel like there's this unannounced episode. There's got to be some kind of Junior Woodchuck episode in coming up soon, because they showed him with the book
Right.
in the Terrians episode. So I feel like that maybe would have went before that to give him some more depth.
Yeah, and had it not been for the promo, there's, and I'm guessing kids and other viewers have seen the promos, but had it not been for the promo, we wouldn't know. New DuckTales fans wouldn't know anything about the Junior Woodchucks because the show's not brought it up at all. We've not seen anything about Junior Woodchucks in this show, other than it just being thrown out there that he has a guidebook.
Right. Do you think Doofus is going to make an appearance?
I don't know. Maybe as a secondary character, a background character, but
yeah, it'd be good to see him appear, and then I wonder if Launchpad's going to lead the pack. Who knows?
Right. One thing that I was wondering about the show, I wonder if the promo was a clip from that episode. With the Bigfoot, the Sasquatch.
Yeah.
And if it is a camping themed episode, I'm kind of thinking they're going to hold off on it until later in the year. It may be a while before we actually see that episode.
It could be, but all the other promos that they appeared, the short clips, hasn't been in any of the episodes yet as well. So
That's
who
true.
knows? They could just be the shorts.
Right.
So what's the next thing in our timeline of what it should have been?
Yeah. So the next thing should have been Great Time Chase.
Okay.
Which we had said previously was our favorite episodes, potentially.
Yes.
And then number 5 was Beagle Birthday Massacre, which introduced us to Lena and added Magica to Spell to the ongoing storylines.
Okay.
And then episode 6 is House of the Lucky Gander. Now, the next episode on the official timeline is Infernal Internship of Mark Beeks, which would have been our introduction to that character. But that's an interesting topic as well, because at one point we thought that was this week's episode.
Yeah, we saw that a couple places online. So who knows who's making up this order? But we starting to see some promos with that character appear on the internet. So maybe he will be in the next episode.
Yeah, those promos started airing as if that would have been this episode, because we did get promos for Lucky Gander as well, though, didn't we? We saw both. Okay. I have seen the current listing, because I kind of keep up with this. The current listing of episodes on my provider shows the Mark Beeks episode as being next.
Okay.
Now, the 8th official storyline episode would have been Living Mummies of Toth Ra.
I wonder if that's the mummy from the theme song clip.
Could be. And then...
Okay. And didn't we also hear... I'll let you go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that the 9th episode is Terror of the Terrafermians, which we've already seen before House of Lucky Gander.
Yeah, the Terrafermians episode, and I'm shocked that I can pronounce that correctly the first time. But I feel like that one probably got moved up because Disney XD, I know, does a lot with their Halloween programming in October, and they probably thought that was a more Halloweenish theme for the month of October. So maybe that's why that one got pushed up.
Yeah, my girls are 4 and 6, and they both refer to that episode as the scary one with trains. So,
like we talked about that one before, but Launchpad was great in that, and Magic of the Spell, just getting her in there, was a treat as well.
yes, I almost feel like maybe they're trying to. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons for why they could shuffle these around. And, like you said, obviously I think Terra Firmians got bumped up so that they would, and I think Frank said this on Twitter as well, so that they could re-air it all October and have a Halloween tie-in. But with some of the other changes that they've done, I almost feel like they're pushing some of the overarching storyline toward the front. Maybe, just after the hiatus, we had a few weeks from the premiere to having, our 2 episodes all at once, which we weren't expecting, right? I mean, that caught me off guard. Did that catch you off guard?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I expect, just going back to Magic, they could have really had her towards the end, like, because I feel like she was more of the villain of the original, and it seems like they're adding more villains with this one as well. But they could have left her towards the end of the season, so they brought her in a lot earlier than I was expecting.
Yes. Yeah. And Frank went on to say, on that same day, I've got the string of messages here. He says, that's our order to property space out character spotlights, which we having the Huey episode left off right now, we're missing that. But to properly space out character spotlights, season arcs, and the right ratio of Duckburg episodes to Globetrotting episodes. And then he put, oh well. So they definitely had planned on spacing all of this out and having a storyline that was going to arch across the entire season. I just hope we don't miss. I don't feel like we had any surprises sprung on us though.
No, I don't think so as well. And I'm kind of looking forward to getting done with all the characters centralized episodes to get into the main storyline. I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm introduced to these characters and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, same for me. I think the final 2/3 of the show will be very exciting and very intense. We're going to talk about this week's episode here in a moment, and some of the stuff. When you and I, we had a few messages back and forth about it, and I think the first thing I said was Launchpad. That's just blown my mind because at this point I had almost given up on that and did not think that was the character we had. I thought we had a different character.
And the other thing I think I heard Frank say something like, because somebody must have said, "Where's Scrooge McDuck?" And we were saying this too in the last episode. And I think somebody said, "Don't worry, he's in 18 of the 19 more episodes that we have for this season." So it's good to see that it's a real, true full season with 20 plus episodes instead of some of the seasons you might see for cartoons that are like 13 to 16 episodes.
Right. Yeah, and that was Frank. He did say that. He's going to be in the majority of the remaining episodes, all but one.
There you go. I'm good for that.
I want to interrupt the podcast for a moment to provide our listeners with a courtesy spoiler alert. Each week we will be discussing the episode that aired the week of our recording. Most weeks, this will mean the episode of DuckTalks will air 2 days after the episode of DuckTales that we are discussing. If you haven't seen the episode yet, maybe come back after you have.
So I think that about wraps up the news. Do we want to get into this week's episode, which is, I think we both agreed, was the best one so far?
Oh, this episode was so much fun from start to finish. I mean, from the very beginning. Gladstone's not a character that I was, most of my experience with DuckTales or Disney Ducks has honestly been with the original DuckTales cartoon. So And I think Gladstone was only in a few, maybe 2 or 3 episodes of that show. So I remember him, but I don't remember him in detail. But he was great in this episode.
Yeah, I believe he was mostly featured in the comics back in the day. So it was good to see, and I like that the writers and the producers are going to bring us more of the Ducks that from the past and reintroduce those to peoples. And I think they did a great job with this one. Paul F. Tompkins does the voice of Gladstone. And I know me and my wife love him because we like saying his name, Paul F. Tompkins. And he was really funny in this role and did a lot with the character. So I look forward to more Gladstone episodes. But if this is the only one for now, I think they knocked it out of the park with introducing this character.
Yeah, and it was great seeing the full gang together as well. I mean, the only person that we didn't have was Mrs. Beakley, but everyone else, all the adventurers were together.
Oh, and I love Donald Duck is one of my favorite, like the Fab Five characters. Mm-hmm. I do a pretty good Donald impression, so let me give you that right now. It goes,
Grade A. That was awesome.
Thank you. So I would love seeing him in this episode. I think he did great. Antonio Anselmo does a great job with his voice.
Yes.
You could totally still hear what he's saying when he talks, and this you could kind of say this was like the featured Donald episode because you learned a lot more about Donald, and it was cool seeing flashbacks of him and his cousin Gladstone. But I feel like the thing that I loved the most about this episode was that the writing was so on that every single character that is featured in this episode, I had a laugh out loud moment that they wrote it so evenly for all the characters, and they all had great lines in this. So that was definitely my favorite part of this.
Yeah. I was thinking of that when the scene with Dewey. I've said Dewey's my favorite, so I felt like he wasn't very prominent in this episode, but just like you said, the times that he was on screen and talking, they were hilarious. The part with the tiger, and he jumps on the tiger to give it a hug, and he's going, Dewey Jr., yes, I named him. Yes,
I'm emotionally attached. I'm keeping him.
Yeah, he's mine. It was great.
And then the guy with the iguana is going to be jealous.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was his moment. And then Huey with the water pageant was just hysterical.
Right.
I love Louie's line in the elevator where he's like, "Oh man, I'm wearing green. He's always seen me in green."
Yeah. That got a good laugh. And Webby in the chocolate fountain. And she's
Webby in the chocolate fountain was great. When she said, "Can I dip your arm in it?" I laughed out loud with that.
Yeah.
And then Donald with when they were shopping for the clothes, right. And he comes up with the tuxedo shirt and says, "This is just as good but cheaper."
Right.
That was hysterical.
Yeah.
I hope Donald gets a lot more episodes like that because he was just so funny.
Right. And I think the funniest Scrooge moment was when the big plot twist that the casino owner or the guy running the casino is a demon. Spoiler alert. We're going to talk about the episode. But when that's revealed and Scrooge is like, wait a minute. I could have been doing this the whole time. I could have been fighting a demon. And instead,
finally an adventure.
I'm watching a water show.
Yeah, and then at the end, he finally sees the golden cricket he was waiting to see, and he's like, "All right, I've seen it."
Yeah.
And then, of course, Launchpad was only on the screen for like 15 seconds, but like even he got a huge laugh from his adventures of what he was doing behind the scenes.
Oh yeah, and I want to talk about Launchpad some more, but because those 2 scenes just filled me with a sense of just excitement and anticipation for things to come.
Absolutely.
But I like you said earlier about this episode being kind of Donald-centric, I really felt that. And it was, seeing Donald kind of down about how the boys might view him. That's a whole nother level to the character that I don't know that I've ever experienced, because he really wants the boys to look up to him like they look up to Scrooge. And now he's also competing with Gladstone, and he knows from his past, which we got that hilarious montage of their past together, but he knows from their past that there's no way he can compete with him. And you just see that frustration all through the episode.
Yeah, and another like golden line in there was when they said the kids say that he's my favorite uncle,
Yeah.
and then they look at Donald's a little sad. He goes, "Oh, well, my favorite uncle that's not a billionaire."
And he grins for a second, and then it hits him, and he's back to
Yeah,
the
because
frown.
they these kids have so many uncles. I mean, I can't wait to see what other ones pop up. And the Gladstone, if you think about that first hour episode, Gladstone was written on Webby's board, so they got the Gladstone episode out there. So I can't wait to see other stuff from that board pop up.
Yeah, there was a lot of information on that board. I'm really hoping we get air pirates at some point.
Oh, sure, for sure. And also bring about Gladstone. I wish I could open a box of cereal and have $20 magically appear.
Right? That was a funny gag, though, all the way through that montage, and then it shows up again at the end of the episode.
Absolutely, yeah, that's hilarious.
It was great. The writers, they're great. I love this show.
This episode was if every episode, I want every episode where there's an adventure to be just like this one. I think they did great with the pacing of it, and like I said, giving everybody their own line and time. And the old episodes of DuckTales, like we were talking about with the nephews, they weren't really they're interchangeable. They were all kind of the same person, but the individual personalities and Webby having a bigger role, I think, with this episode was great.
Yes.
So you wrote on our blog, you had an episode or a blog entry about Gladstone. Do you want to give any more of his history?
Yeah, we can do that. So I've got one thing that maybe I'm the only person that this strikes, that this seems odd to me, but Gladstone's not just a duck. He's a hybrid of a duck and a goose. Is that right?
He looks goosey.
Yeah, he's got a longer bill, but his father is said to be a goose. And I'm trying to pull up the website right now. I don't have it. I don't want to use my computer because it'll get all clicky on the recording for everyone.
He's got a fancy haircut, for sure.
Yes.
Which reminds me, there's another episode where another Donald's cousin, which will be another uncle. I don't know if you remember this old-time Donald cartoon where this goose comes to visit and eats all of Donald's food.
Yeah.
That's another duck that could appear or a duck from the duck family that could appear in this universe.
Yeah. There's plenty of them. That tree is out there. There's a few of them though. I know Carl Barks had one that he worked from. I don't know that any of them were actually official, but he had one that he worked from. And then later, when Rosa was working on or is working on some of the duck stories, he put a duck family tree together based on conversations that he had with Carl Barks, and you can find those online and see. But yeah, so Gladstone is the cousin of Donald, and Scrooge McDuck is also his uncle.
Gladstone Gander. It's fun to say, too.
Yeah, when he says loose as a goose and... What is it? Loose as a goose and something as a gander in the episode. Oh, ready as a gander. Loose as a goose and ready as a gander. He's got his own little personal saying.
He was hysterical when he was imitating Scrooge McDuck.
Yes.
Swimming through the chips of money that he'd won in the casino.
Yeah. Something about bagpipes and... yeah. He was carrying on. It was great. So yeah, he was created back in 1948, by Carl Barks. He wrote and drew the comic that he was in. It was a story called Wintertime Wager. And let's see, his mother was, because I finally have the website up, Daphne Duck, and his father was a goose named Gustave Gander.
So, okay.
Which, I noticed in the episode, and you might look at it when you go back and watch it, because I know you're like me, you're going to watch it 4 or 5 more times at least.
Oh, I've seen it 3 times today.
Yeah, me too. But he has a longer beak than the rest of the characters, so he's a little more goosey. But yeah, so his character has never worked a day in his life, and he likes to brag that he hasn't had to. And that definitely plays into this episode too. And even there at the very end of the episode, he has this moment after Louis shot him down, and Louis like, luck's not everything. And he goes off with Scrooge and Donald. He stands there and he starts to go, well, what have I really done with my life? Is luck all there is? Is this all that there is to who I am? Should I pursue other things and start to figure out who I am? And then a cruise ship pulls up and someone says, "Hey, do you want a ship for $20?"
Well, he definitely had the $20.
Yeah.
I like when he was at the guess how many fingers I'm having holding out booth, and he wins 2 cars.
Right.
Just by talking.
Right. And
poor Donald.
And Donald keeps saying 27.
I was thinking he was going to get it at one point, but I guess that frog didn't have 27 fingers.
Right. Not even counting toes. But even that, and again, going back to the writers, that plays in because Louis realizes something at that moment about Donald that inspires him to inspire Donald at the end of the episode when Donald's stuck in this race and can't seem to beat Gladstone. And Louis says, "Hey, you're the most stubborn. You never give up, and that's what makes you great, and that's how you win this." And then Donald, he hulks out. I mean, what else can we say? He just hulks out, takes on a tiger, and ends up getting to the finish line.
Yeah, this is total spoiler. So if you haven't seen the episode, you're gonna have to watch it again. Watch it 4 or 5 times, but like we have.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how it ends. And Scrooge giving him Scrooge outthinking the bad guy and finding a way to save both Gladstone and Donald was funny as well.
Yes, the ending was hilarious because Scrooge just thought of everything, right?
Yeah, give him Donald because he won't want to keep him because he's the luckiest duck.
So is there anything else about Gladstone you wanted to talk about?
No, I just hope we get to see more Paul F. Tompkins because that was great. And like you said, more ducks. And yeah, I don't know how many Gladstone episodes there's going to be out there, but this was perfect.
What did you think about the villain for the episode? I mean, we've had, mythical dragons, we've had terra firmians, which weren't really villains. We've had the Beagle Boys. So this was like
the
our
first. Original was great.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think back to the the classic episodes,
right.
Like I said, the most memorable ones were Magica and the Beagle Boys and Glomgold. So it's cool. It was cool to have this being such a well-written episode, and this memorable character now that could return in any other episodes, the ones that have to do with luck.
That is true. I hadn't thought about him returning. Let's see.
Oh, he's gonna want his revenge for sure.
Yeah, Toad Lee Hoo Hai. I think that was his name.
Yeah, that's funny. I don't know how many frog bad guys they have out there, but that was good.
Well, he had a bunch in the casino.
It was the other funny part. Not the other funny. The whole thing was funny, but the how everything was magically a card.
Right.
And I like how the clothes, this fancy clothes that they had gotten from that nice place, were actually just cards as well that was thrown on them.
Even Donald's T-shirt that was cheaper.
Even Donald's T-shirt, and it's funny that even though it was cards, they still wanted to charge Donald $2,000 for the one that he wanted at the shop.
Yeah, the storyline for why Gladstone needed help and why he would ask Donald for help, it really made sense. It really made for a fun story. Like we keep saying they've done an excellent job, but I think that's why I like this episode so well. You start to pull the thread, and all of it comes together. It doesn't fall apart. It was really fun. It was funny, and it's a very intelligent story.
Absolutely, and you learn lessons, and I'm going to make my kids watch it over and over again, so that they can think I'm cool like Donald.
Right. All right, so let's talk about Launchpad for a moment. I'm dying to get to Launchpad. So we're both Darkwing Duck fans, huge Darkwing Duck fans. I would go as far as to say Darkwing Duck is my favorite Disney afternoon show from my childhood.
That's a very fair statement. Yes.
So the one disappointment, I know a lot of people got on, we're going on social media and talking about there's not enough Scrooge. Isn't this Scrooge's show? Isn't this? And, different things. And Frank spoke to that. And I feel like he's taking care of that. And he said, hey, the pacing would have been better, but it's not. This is where we're at. But I wouldn't even say it was a complaint, but my disappointment was Launchpad. He's been hilarious every time he's been on the screen. I've enjoyed watching him every time he was on the screen. Terra the Terrafermians was hysterical, I thought, his parts. But there was a part of Launchpad that I felt like we were missing because I loved Darkwing Duck Launchpad. Now, they're two different characters, right? DuckTales Launchpad and Darkwing Duck Launchpad were never the same character. When you watch the two shows, they're distinct. They have a lot of similarities. The way they were drawn, a lot of things they did. Some of their humor is very distinct between the two. And Tad Stones once said that they are not this. They're the same character, but they're in different universes. They don't exist the same. At least in the past, what we had in the past, they were different.
Right.
And so you had the Launchpad of DuckTales was an adventurer who was a pilot who crashed everything, and it never made sense why he was around. But the kids loved him. He was loyal, and that's why he was there. Launchpad from Darkwing Duck was much more, he was into the crime fighting. He wanted to be a sidekick. He wanted to be the main hero at times. He ran into the room punching and kicking and doing all of the superhero or hero vigilante type things. And so I'd kind of wanted to see a little more of that in this show, at least a hint of it, and I wasn't getting it. That all changed with this episode.
Yeah, as soon as you saw that he wanted to go do this mission while they're at the casino for an hour, it was a total flashback to the Double O Duck episode from the classic DuckTales series, where he kind of got his own little spin-off type episode where he was a crime fighting superhero. Right. So that's what immediately came out of that for me. And then, as you said, Darkwing Duck as well. So maybe he was fighting with Darkwing on some mission as well during that time.
Yeah, so I mean, he says, I've got to go help a girlfriend who's in trouble with a local crime family. And then at the end of the episode, when they show up and he's there and he's all in samurai gear with an eye patch, and I don't know if it was a baby or a stuffed panda on his back, but and they're like, what's going on? What have you been up to? And he's like, oh, just tourist stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
But he has that determined look in his eye when he looks back to back towards what we'll call the camera. I thought it was great, and it just got me excited about what could be. Because in was it which episode? Day Trip of Doom. at the end when Donald and Mrs. Beakley are, having a laugh over everything that's happened, and he's like, "How do you know how to do all these things?" And she goes, "Oh, it's easy. I'm a spy." And they have a laugh. That's kind of a flag too, I think, because it's obvious that something else is going on with Mrs. B, right?
Yeah, they will totally have a Mrs. Beakley episode for sure.
Yeah. So I think we're getting some hints that definitely in this story, in this world, we know Darkwing's coming. They've mentioned that Darkwing's coming, but I think all of these things, between both shows, they exist together. And so we've got, a spy working for Scrooge, and we've got what could be a great adventurer and crime fighter working for Scrooge. What's going on with Scrooge McDuck? What don't we know yet?
I don't know, but we're gonna find out soon. And I thought for this season the main thing was gonna be who was the mom of the boys, and I thought that would be the main story arc throughout the season. So
Yeah,
that's another mystery and a character that they're gonna have a lot on, hopefully this season, because I know they're gonna start talking about her in the comics really soon if they haven't already.
yeah. We're only to we've had issue 0 and issue 1, and she's not been mentioned at all so far. But we do know we've seen her on some covers and some promo art.
Right.
So we do know she's coming.
Looking forward to that. Does that about wrap it up for this episode?
That does. That's all that I have, unless you have anything else.
No, I'm like you. I'm looking forward to more of this universe every week. It's a good trip. I love talking about DuckTales and these ducks. So I'm glad the show has given us the platform to do so.
Yeah, I'm glad we have this opportunity. I appreciate you joining me here and taking a little bit of time just to talk about this show, because I think it's pretty obvious from our conversation we're enjoying it. So we do want to thank everyone who's been listening, and ask that you reach out to us. Let us know that you're listening. You can find DuckTalks on Twitter at DuckTalks. And you can also find us. We have the WordPress blog that we're continually putting up our thoughts and stories and articles. We're trying to get some character bios going, so there's a few of those up. And reach out to us on our. You can also check us out on our personal Twitter accounts. I am Infinirama616 and Pirate.
And I am at the Pirate Steven.
All right, yeah. So feel free to reach out to us. We enjoy talking about this. We talk about it every day on Twitter. So I'm looking forward to having a good community to communicate with and to keep the conversation going, even when we're not sitting down and recording ourselves.
Absolutely. And we're starting, fans are even starting to send us periscopes of themselves. So this is great.
Right. So
and don't forget to follow Resd as well. If you don't hear about our shows through DuckTalks Twitter account, you can also find it on Resd.
Yes. We will be in their featured feed, so you can check us out there and check them out and see what all is available. Great place to go. So that's going to do it for the show this week. We want to thank you again for listening, and have a great week.
See you next time.